0.20. And I'm just wondering, is that where you guys are tuned in at? I know, Steve, you probably are, but I'm just wondering if what's going on and if there's a reason why we're 20 hertz off. And then, no, just asking. I'm just curious. Good day, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on 210.2, and I'm zero beated to Mike, and he's spot on. So, Mike, I'm assuming you're on 10.200, right?
Yep.
Okay, a little DX application there, Vito. Over.
Yeah. So, Mike, you're on 7.210.20. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay, no problem. I wasn't sure whether, because something weird was going on a little earlier when I was listening to you on another station, and it almost sounded like the one guy was on one frequency and you were on the other, and I was wondering maybe you had a XIT on or something weird going on. But no, that's okay. Just confirming. Good evening. I'm actually running remote. I am running remote from my lake house about 65 kilometers southeast is my operating system, and I'm running an ICOM 7610. And I just wanted to say hello. I'll let you and Steve go back at it. I thought I heard Steve in there, so I just wanted to say hello. But you guys can bang it around. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had the question about what frequency you're on. So go ahead, Mike. I hope you're copying me okay.
Yeah. Talk. That's what we're here for. You didn't tell us the QTH. Where are you?
We are located in Unionville, Ontario, which is about 25 miles northeast of Toronto. That's where my station is, in Unionville. But I'm another 65 kilometers northeast of that, on the south shores of Lake Simcoe. I'm over looking out my window right now onto Lake Simcoe, which is just north of Toronto.
And which type of the millions of remote accesses are you doing there? Which one are you using?
I'm using RSBA1 software, which is the ICOM software, and I'm remoting across the internet to my 7610 directly. It's got a built-in network server. That's exciting. A Mercury Lux amplifier at about a kilowatt, a little over. And the antenna is an end-fed antenna, about sloping up at about 40 feet, Mike.
Yeah, everybody's telling me about free software, free this, but a couple of guys said, just get the ICOM software, and that's the best. And that's what I'm going to do. I already tried some of the free software, but they tell me the ICOM is really consistent, really good, not that expensive. I don't know, $100, $150, something like that. But yeah, I hear the ICOM is the best software, so I'm guessing you like it.
Well, I'm a network guy, so I've had no problems with it. I've run this for the last 5 or 6 years from Florida. I've run it every day from my lake house here back home. And is there free stuff out there? Yeah. I just like, how stable it is and how consistent it is. It is a bit of a pain in the butt to set up if you're not really overly network knowledgeable, but it is quite, in my opinion, I prefer to use that over many of the other ones, including the free ones. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry about that, man. Go ahead, K1GMM, VA3VMD.
No, Vito, no problem. Good, nice to hear you. I was actually surfing around. I was listening down around 163. I was like, all right, where is he? But no problem. Yeah, I had a question too, Mike. I run the RSBA1 software on the 7300. Now, the 7300, as you probably know, is different than the 7610 in the sense that it doesn't have the built-in server capability. There's no server inside the radio. So what I do is I use a little AWOW, a micro PC, mini PC. Works great. I set up the server on that. It's a 12 volt DC little mini computer. Radio's tied to that, and I use a little 9-inch, I think it's a 9-inch TFT connected to it, and I just start the server, and the thing just sits there, and I can access that. I can turn the radio on and do whatever I need to do. But the 7610 is definitely easier. It took me a little while to get the RSBA1 running on the RSBA1 with the 7300. It's not intuitive. Let me put it that way. The biggest issue I had was the port situation. I had a friend tell me, he says, don't use the default ports. I think I used, I put a 5 in the middle. He says, sometimes the ISPs get pissy, and I could not get it to connect remotely with a laptop. And once I changed the ports on the software, in the setup, I think it was 50501, 50502, blah, blah, blah. Don't hold me to that. But I put a 5 in the middle, bang, the thing lit right up. Rock solid and stable, dude. Right on the money. Had never had an issue with that. Over. Go ahead. K2FPZ, K1GMM, over.
Roger. Yep. I mean, in this particular instance, I use TeamViewer and something called the WF View, Whiskey Foxtrot View. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, compared to Christ, remember, well, you remember, and you have it, the remote rig. That was a nightmare. Remote rig. That was a disaster. That thing,
hey, Jose,
you had
what's
to
up,
be
dude?
nuclear scientist. That was 10 years ago to set up. But I think I'm just going to get the ICOM software. I don't, I've heard good things about it. Really steady, and it works with the Sprig. And I'm going to have to get a computer for another computer for here to dedicate it to remote into the site where, obviously I want to locate it. But did I answer your question?
Yeah, wasn't really a question. I was kind of bloviating. Sorry about that. Vito knows I am the king bloviator, Mike. No, that'll do it. That'll do it, and it'll work good. Geez, I was crushing that thing with. I had all kinds of crap running. I found though it's easier to just keep it simple. You know what I mean? I was running a DAW. I had all this crap running on the receive side. It worked, but it's too much for a remote. And I use this. What the heck is it? It's made by Logitech. It's a Logitech headset. I think it was $20, and I was running. It's really fun. This is really funny. I would not recommend doing this, but I was running a DAW, and I talked to my friend Brian up on 222. This one day, this was, I don't know, a year or two ago, a couple years ago maybe. And he says, what are you running? I said, I'm on a remote. He says, holy crap. He says, what are you running for a microphone? And I told him, it was just this crappy Logitech headset with a DAW all piped virtually out of the laptop, to the radio through the server. He's like, dude, that thing sounds like a $1,200 Neumann. I started laughing. I said, no, it doesn't. He says, it sounds freaking good, man. So, you can do, just because it's remote doesn't mean you have to sound like crap. So, yeah, that RSBA1 stuff is really good there, Roger.
Roger. It definitely sounds good. Your audio's, very good. I never comment on audio, but since you yapped about it, yours is good, very good. I have an ICOM SM50, and then one guy was kind of very direct, and he goes, "Oh, if you got that microphone, you must have more money than brains." Go ahead.
There's a friggin' rotten peanut in every gallery. I'm not even going down that road. So we can, that horse is shot and dead long time ago. So, go ahead. People are such butt-tards, man. Go ahead, Vito.
Steve, I wanted to make a comment about the default ports because I ran into a problem. I'm going to ask you something, and you're probably not running it, but maybe you are. I was working on a problem with a guy, and he didn't know what the heck was going on. And he couldn't get remote going. And then I did a search on ports. And to your point about changing ports, he had a software He had a software program called AnyDesk, which is kind of like TeamViewer. And lo and behold, guess what? AnyDesk uses the exact same ports as, guess what? RSBA1. And sure enough, that was the issue why he couldn't get going. So I wanted to ask you, just out of curiosity, you aren't running AnyDesk by any chance, are you?
No, but I have. If I was going to do it, I did it with a Sun, which is what I'm on right now. I ran AnyDesk, and inside the local LAN, gosh, dude, I got to look for it. It's on the computer here somewhere. It's a great little VoIP program that runs on the local LAN. It's like the only one of its kind, I think. Outside of like major, like if you're going to do like meetings internally on a local LAN, just audio only. I can't remember. Microsip. It's called Microsip. Great program. Almost zero latency because it runs inside the local LAN. It doesn't. But I was using like outside the local LAN. I just use Skype and AnyDesk. But on the Sun, it worked great. I never tried it on the ICOM. I don't believe. So that's interesting. I didn't know that about the ports. Over.
Well, if you had AnyDesk installed and not using it, and you tried running RSBA1 and you were trying to use those ports, RSBA1 would not work.
That's probably what did it, because I think Jerry uses AnyDesk as well. He's the one that told me. I wonder if there's other software that, if it's installed on the computer, it's got those ports. It's grabbing them. So I wonder if that's, because he's the one that, Jerry, W1JWC, down in Rhode Island. He's the one that told me about that. I said, dude, I can't get it running. It will not connect. And he says, nah, change it to 505. So I did, and bang, it lit right up. So that's probably the reason. Over.
Yeah, if you have AnyDesk installed, even though you're not using it, it's stolen those. Whenever you try running 5031, it's going to try to go to AnyDesk instead of, there was contention there. In other words, it's kind of like having, two addresses it's like having two IP addresses on the same network. You're going to get collisions. It ain't going to know where to go. And that's probably what happened with you. I 10 to 1, not that I'm telling you to do it, of course, but if you were to uninstall AnyDesk and change those ports back to, whatever, I guarantee you that it would work. If that's what you have, if you have AnyDesk installed, that's the reason why RSB1 didn't work on those 50,001 to 50,003 default ports, because that's exactly what AnyDesk uses for communicating. As soon as you said that, I thought, I wonder if he's running AnyDesk.
Yep, I'll put it over to you, Mike. Hopefully you're listening. You can absorb all this, because this will save you from serious amount of gray hair and hair falling out in chunks. AnyDesk is not, I just checked, it's not on this main computer, but I never ran the server on this computer, my big computer. I ran it on the mini PC, which, guess what? Yes, that has AnyDesk on it, because that's what I used to use on this radio. So yes, AnyDesk is on there, and I could never get it to connect on that frickin' little mini PC. So there you go. Go ahead, Mike, K1GM.
So the mini desk was the problem. It wasn't the 7300.
Correct. Correct. It was AnyDesk. It was grabbing the ports that the RSBA1 uses. So yeah, if you ever see that, because I'm telling you, if you just set it up and you walk through the setup process, it'll see it, and when you go to light everything up, it'll just connect. If it doesn't connect, there's something. I'm almost willing to. Vito could verify this. I would say 99% of the time it's something to do with the ports. Something's grabbing those ports, those default ports that the RSBA software uses.
Vito, is this true?
Yeah. And the other thing is, you got to remember, and Steve, you run remote in the way that what I call what true remote is, and that's having a server on the local station, being the 7300, and then another laptop or another computer running the remote software to connect. And you have the utility program, which is basically acting kind of like what your team viewer is doing for the products that you run there, Mike, and what Skype would be doing. It's kind of responsible for making the connection to the 7300 and also passing the audio back and forth. So you see, what you got to understand with RSBA1 is you can run it in different ways. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're sitting right in front of your 7300 and you want to bring up the big screen, or you want to project the screen on a laptop. Well, you can't do it like you can with the 7610. But if you connect the USB cable to the 7300 from your computer and you install RSBA1 as a local install, you don't need to run the utility program for the audio and the receive, because your radio can do that. What you're really only doing at that point is using the program, the control program, to control the radio. And I think this is where the confusion a lot of people get when they're setting up RSBA1. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to just run it sitting in front of your computer because there's an install for that? Or do you want to run it as a true remote like Steve is running it, or like I'm running it, where you have to configure a server and you have to configure the remote software on a laptop? You've got to get the utility programs on both the local system and the remote system in order to make that connection. And I think this is where RSBA1 gets a bad rap, because a lot of guys just don't know what they're doing with it. Go ahead, Steve, K1GMM, VA3VMD.
Yeah, I'll put it over to Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Roger. The last time that I did this, other than with the 7300 recently, was with the TS2000 and the remote rig. And even then they had the software, and it was just like sitting in front of your rig. So I guess I did it. Or, okay, if I'm going to come clean on this, I'm going to come clean. By complete coincidence, I was living in Naples at that time, and one of the gentlemen who was a member of the club worked for RemoteRig.com, and his job was to install all the software, because really everybody was having a hard time. Everybody would buy this stuff, would call, asking a million questions. So they ultimately hired this guy, and he just happened to be in my club. And by the time he was done with it, he just remoted into my rig, and it was just like I was sitting in front of the transmitter. When I was on the computer screen, everything was there. There was no difference between my computer screen and sitting in front of the rig. So I'm going to have to confess that I do get a lot of help. Plus, I have a couple of businesses with IT guys. But why don't you do that, Vito? You sound up on everything. Start a little small business. Go install all this stuff for these people.
Well, first of all, that was pretty much my bread and butter for my entire career for the most part. And I did run my own business for 10 years. I used to go into network operation centers and security operation centers and basically assess their environment and basically fix what was broken. So been there, done that, and no thank you. And by the way, just like Steve, and by the way, Steve has been instrumental on the audio transmit and on the audio receive side in this hobby, in his short time in this hobby, helping so many guys. Phenomenal YouTube channel that he had running for quite a while. And I've done the same on the remote side. I mean, I've had guys all over the U.S. Ding me up through email, and then we'll hook up over the phone and try to resolve problems that they just can't resolve. So I don't mind helping people. They got to help themselves too. But kind of been there and done that. I do it for fun now, and it's just you just get that. When it comes to networking, for me, I get that, I don't know, it's kind of like that buzz from to get things working. It's been my passion my whole life. And even nowadays, it's still, I still get excited when somebody has a problem and we get to fix it or we get to help them. It's about the outcome and getting there. That's all the fun. So, but anyway, well, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Just, follow the instructions.
Okay. K1G. Do I got your call right, Steve, right? Kilo 1 Golf Mike, Steve. Steve, it looks like he just passed the buck over to you. Just kidding. I can do it. This is, it's not the crazy thing it used to be. At least not with my experience. But it's always nice to have help because, pretend you've just been an HFer all your life and, you tune up your knobs and you're used to a tuner, a rotor, a beam maybe. And you're familiar with the computer, but, it really is nice to have help from people, who've already been through it. Even there are people who just helped me set up this 7300. I mean, that's the fun thing about ham radio. It's a community. At least for me, it's always been. So, what do you think of that, Steve?
No, it is. There's so many K1GMM. There's so many. It almost doesn't matter what radio you have. I know, the ICOM community is really good. It's been great. I know if you're into the SDRs, there's some SDRs where, trust me, I know playing with that technology and stuff. I've gotten help from other people, and generally it's a really good community, tremendous help. So it's pretty cool when you think about it. And I'm actually streaming this right now. It's actually going to my YouTube channel because the way I feel about this, Mike, is knowledge is power. And right when you guys we started talking about this, I thought, oh, crap, my OBS is always sitting there idling. And the stream key is in there. And all I have to do is hit start streaming and bang, it goes straight to the YouTube channel. Because, a lot of guys, they want to get into this remote stuff, and anything that can help the community, hey, cool beans, man. I'll throw it up there. I don't give a crap. Even if it's stuff I'm not interested in or I don't know anything about, I'll push it to the channel, title it, keyword it, and make sure people can find it. And that's the whole thing. That's what it comes down to. We all talk about Elmers. And if you think about how that whole term Elmer has changed, there is no substitute for, I'll say this and then I'll pass it to Vito. There's no substitute for experience, period. I've been saying that for a very long time, and I've only been in the hobby for about 10 years. There is no substitute for experience. You know, guys that have been in the hobby 30, 40, 50 years, sometimes 60 years that I've talked to, no, they've seen it all, man. They really have. So it's best to, even though, you know, you may not agree with them, you got to listen, because they'll, you know, they've seen an awful lot, man. Seriously. You know, so, you know, I believe we all have an obligation to give back in some way, however small it might be. The reason why I do what I do with that stupid YouTube channel is because I've taken so much, Mike. I'm like a human sponge. Just the amount of research. If you keep in mind, if you realize all of these articles and these little tidbits of information you find online, I don't even want to know how many hours are invested into that. And it's free. It's free for the taking. It's insane when you think about it, that almost anything you want to know, you can find online. It's like the online Elmer. I'm surprised somebody hasn't put together a website. There you go, Vito. That'll give you something to do in your retirement. VA3 VMD, K1GMM.
Well, I think you already got it. You should just rename your YouTube channel. You got the silver hair and everything to go with it, buddy. I knew that would make you laugh. Oh man, yeah. You know, you're right, Steve. I mean, I hate to use the word obligation, but you really feel compelled to. Well, I do anyway. Maybe a lot of people just walk away, but whenever I hear somebody stop and talk about remote, or they're having an issue, you know, like a guy called me the other night that I helped set up, and he goes, Vito, I was running remote for the last 2 weeks and everything was running just fantastic. And he goes, and then on my last day, everything stopped working. And, you know, I brought it home, I got home, and from the inside of my network, you know, on the local LAN, I can connect no problem. It works great. So right away, I said to him, well, you got to look at two things. I said, if you're not using a dynamic DNS where your IP address of your ISP is being replicated out there when it changes, I said, maybe your IP address changed on your outside interface. So he goes, well, you know, where do I check that? How do I check that? I said, well, log into your router and look at your software program. And if you're using an IP address, check what you got in your program and then check your router. And so sure enough, guess what happened? His ISP must have rebooted the router and his IP address changed on the last day he was out. So he changed that. And then he goes to me, well, still not working. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, what about port forwarding? Check to see if for whatever reason, maybe your ISP reset something on the router and you blew your port forwarding. He goes in there and checks, and sure enough, guess what? It was gone, completely gone. So, I mean, if you don't know these things, I mean, there's guys that would have probably reinstalled the software over and over again going, oh, it's not working, it's not working. So this is where somebody that's got a little bit of the experience will help somebody from just going crazy and throwing it in the garbage. VA3 VMD, go ahead, Mike. I think it's W2 UFO, is that right?
Oh my God, I wish it was. I would pay for that, clone. I think I will. I'm Kilo Alpha 2, Fox Papa Zanzibar. I got that 1977, and I've hated it since the day I've got it. But it's who I am. But absolutely helping, you know, it's like somebody to take the time to help somebody else and get nothing in return except for satisfaction. That's priceless. I don't mean to sound like a Kodak commercial or something, but it really is. My Elmer, I met him in high school. I was about 14, 15 years old. And I am now, I'll be 62 in October. And he turned out to be my best friend for over 30 years. Not only did he teach me a lot about radio and electronics, but he really, in a fair degree, molded who I was as a person. He was a chief radio officer on the Trenton back during World War II. He was in the Navy for 20 years, and he was a by the book kind of guy. He was a teacher at the local high school. Really, really nice guy. He would help anybody anytime he could. So he was probably one of the biggest influences in my life. And he was a ham radio operator. And boy, I feel lucky. Go ahead. Vito?
Yeah, very good. Let me throw it over to Steve. Yeah, no problem. I got you. No problem. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that. Mike, so would you say you were licensed in 77? Boy, see what I mean? You were in ham radio during the glory days, weren't you? Boy, you must have seen some great conditions back in the 70s. I've only heard about it. I can't imagine. I have a friend that's been in the hobby for a very long time. He's like, oh yeah. He said, I never ran more than a fan dipole. He said, I had a fan dipole up, and he said, I worked everywhere on mosquito power. And he's got countless stories. He said 20 meters was like literally a contest every day. It was like freaking roaring in there. I said, yeah, I've never seen that. I've been in this since 2015, and I was on the downward spiral of cycle 24 when I got in. But it's funny because I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I don't care what anybody thinks. But, I started on the old C, like so many of us did, on the 11 meter bands, CB. And gosh, dude, I worked more. I can't say that anymore, but for about the first 8 years in this hobby, I could honestly say I worked more countries on 11 meters than I did in this hobby. I used to talk to friends of mine in VK every week off the top of the mountain. I had this 11 meter Moxon rectangle. It was built on a PVC frame, and it was screwed to two 2x4s that were shiplapped together that would hook into the trailer hitch of my truck. And I go up the top of the mountain. I talk to those guys every week they were down on the beach in Adelaide, Australia. So, having done that, I really don't care. I don't care about working all these exotic places in this hobby. It's more about making friends and, running my freaking yapping flapper. Go ahead, Vito, pick it up. You probably got some crazy comment. K1GM.
I just picture you like the Statue of Liberty holding up an antenna on 11 meters. And that reminds me, because we're the same age, and I'm going to ask you this, and I may have asked you this stupid question before. But there's a movie out there, and it's called, it had two names, and it was done in 1970 by John Demme, and he was a famous producer. He put together some great movies, but he put together this movie in 1977 called Citizens Band, which was later renamed to Handle with Care. And it was all about the 1970s CB craze. And if you haven't seen the movie K1GMM, don't be cheap, because I know you are, and rent it on YouTube for like $4.99. It'll take you back in time like you wouldn't believe. And I'm going to leave you with this. And I don't know whether you've seen the movie or not, because I'm going to throw it back to you so you can answer that question. But the resident hooker in that movie, Hot Coffee, played by Alexa Elias, is a very good friend of mine. VA3VMD. Okay, K1GMM. Have you seen the movie?
Well, that does make sense that she's a good friend of yours, Vito, knowing you. I'll leave that one there. I'm not going any further. No, I haven't heard of it. Haven't seen it. That is really intriguing. Boy, you got me really intrigued. And just to let you know, yeah, I was off the freaking hook back then. I've got a picture. I've got to dig it up. I don't know if it's a digital picture. It may have been a scanned image. I don't know if digital was out. Yeah, because it wasn't that long ago. I bet it was digital. Maybe it was taken with a phone or something. Who knows? Of me on top of the mountain. I had an old Toyota pickup truck. I used to go up there all winter long, dude. It was like 10 below zero with a freaking wind howling. I'm all bundled up, freaking frost on the inside of the truck, and I'm in there just freaking banging away, pounding. I had more fun up there, but see, now I'm too old and I'm too lazy, and lazy is the key word. I don't do that crap anymore. I'm a fair weather everything. Go ahead, Mike, K1GMM.
Well, hi, Drew. I have not seen the movie. Nope, I have not. But it's something to think about. Steve, he keeps on ribbing you. I don't know. I think Vito's trying to say something here, Steve. I haven't seen the movie, but it sounds pretty nice. I started my career as a CBer. Absolutely did. Walkie-talkie, Lafayette, 3-channel walkie-talkie, 5 watts output was my first CB radio. Then my first ham radio was an HW7 that I built, and it was only, I believe it was only 40 meters and only 5 watts CW. So that's what I could afford. And then it went on and on from there. There was a time between 10 and 11 meters, the Bandit band, you know what I'm talking about, between 27, 29, 28 megahertz. And I did talk there frequently to somebody who's very famous and a ham radio operator, and probably still known today. But it was definitely still known today. And it was fun. And Herman Gwynn, did you? A lot of people don't know that. Herman Munster was an avid DXer. Herman Munster was a big DXer. Did you know that, Steve?
No, I didn't. That's crazy. There's a lot that I don't know, Mike. I'm still on training wheels here. Go ahead, Vito.
Yeah, very good. You got me going on the Citizens Band movie again, Steve. Holy crap. I actually bought the movie. I think for $10. But anyway, when you get a chance, Citizens Band, in 2 words, Citizens Space Band 1977 full movie, and you'll find it on YouTube, but there's clips out there as well on the movie, so you'll get a little taste of what it's about, but it's hilarious. If you want to go back in time, I'm just saying, if you want to go back in time, it's a hoot. It kind of reminds me of my early youth. I think that's why I'm so gravitated to that movie all the time. But anyway, enough of that. What was I going to say? Yeah, so that's it. I guess Steve, just if you don't mind, you copied me okay on the remote as far as signal as well. I'm just curious on if I'm putting in a good signal to you tonight. Go ahead.
Oh, good heavens, both of you are. You're averaging 10 to 15 over. Or peaking, I should say 15 over. Averaging, yeah, no problem. Boy, the band's quiet too, because it's got to be stretching. She's got to be stretching her legs at this point, and there is absolutely no snap, crackle, pop. So, I don't know. I guess it's pretty quiet across the country, maybe. Mike, you're seeing the same thing, right?
Quiet as a mouse. I thought for a minute I was on FM.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, You go in and listen to this stream later. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like you guys are sitting in the room with me. It's freaking awesome. Vito, really quick, what's the exact name of that movie again? Over.
Yeah, Citizens Space Band. So Citizens Band, like the Citizens Band radio. So Citizens Band. If you go on YouTube and you type in Citizens Space Band 1977 full movie, I'm sure you'll get a whole bunch of hits, Steve.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a late night one where you're in the shack, the lights are out, and you got your little fix a drink there, and nothing's going on, and you want to kick back and roll the time back to 1970 or 77. Anyway, anyways, I became good friends with Alex Elias, who is now, she's in her late 70s now. So she ain't no hot coffee anymore. But you know, the funny thing is, she doesn't have, I don't think she's got any children. And she sent me the original Paramount, initial, she had a whole bunch of historic stuff on that movie that she was kind enough to roll it up in one of those tubes and send me. And she actually sent a picture of Charles Napier. I don't know if you know Charles Napier. He's a pretty popular actor in the 70s. And there's a picture of him, and she's holding the microphone at the table, and it was a promo shot for Paramount promo for the video, and she signed it to my handle back in the day. So she signed it to 426 Bad Boy from Hot Coffee, XOXOXO.
I didn't know they had XOXO back then. How long has that been around? I thought that was like a, I don't know, or was this recent, really more recent when she was older? She's in her 70s, you said. Wow. Don't even talk like that, dude. Makes me, I'll tell you what, makes me feel, it's just, this ain't the geriatrics band. If we're going to go geriatrics, we got to move down to 75, 80 meters. So I ain't even going there. Go ahead, Mike.
Right, Trev. I've been looking. I've been warned. I didn't think this would be a thing because I'm starting to look for maybe buying some used equipment on some of the various websites, and they're all warning me now that there's a ton of scammers. And I would have never even have thought that years ago. Ham radio operators did not scam other ham radio, not on a regular basis. Now I'm being told by a lot of people, be careful. And that really brought me down. You know what I mean, Steve?
Yes, you do. You know what kind of baffles me? Vito, you've seen this, right? You know how you get on these websites where, like QRZ and QTH.com, and you're looking around. I'm on there off and on all the time, like QTH, just looking around, see what's out there. Not that I'm in the market for anything, but a lot of times they'll put right on the post, no returns. And I was like, why do guys do that? And then I dug a little deeper, and this is over the past few years, and you'll see them say because of scammers, what they do. Like, I have a friend in the UK, right? This is worldwide, Mike. This isn't just here, of course, right? I got a friend in the UK. He had a radio. He bought a radio used online. The radio arrived. He plugged it in, and it didn't turn on. It didn't work. And he thought it felt kind of funny, right? So he felt light. So just out of curiosity, he removed the cover, the top cover, and there was nothing inside. It was an empty shell. Yeah, there's all kinds of crap like that. Over.
I find that repulsive, and that's not a joke. I do. I mean, I'm not naive. Don't get me wrong. The world's not Mother Goose land. It's just that, you know, hams never did that to each other. At least, I don't know. I've been on the air too long, I guess. Again, time's passed me by in terms of trusting people on. Although I make it, forget it. I just don't know. I think I'll just buy new. I mean, if everybody's going to get ripped off on these websites, I'll just buy new and forget about the whole thing. I just thought I could, relieve somebody of their equipment they don't like. A lot of people are downsizing or passing away or whatever. But there's these two guys that I want to buy stuff from, and I told them, okay, let's do some business. And they keep telling me, yeah, but they don't do anything. But yet I see them repeating their ads time after time after time on the website. And I'm like, so you don't want to sell to me? I'm willing to do business with you. And you just want to keep advertising it? What's with that?
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know, because I don't buy enough used stuff. I'm not in the, you know how some guys they'll buy a radio and they'll sell it like a month later. They'll buy it just to try it out. I personally know someone who spent $40,000 in 1 year. He was kind of a predator. Hey, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want, but there are guys that find, silent keys. They go to estate sales and they buy equipment for pennies on the dollar. And he tried them. He tried all the radios, and they turn around and sell them, make money on them. I mean, if that's what you want to do as a business, fine. But, it's just, I would never do that in that situation, where you have a widow and they're trying to liquidate all the equipment. Now, this is pure speculation because I don't know exactly what was paid for this equipment. So don't read too deep into that. It was just kind of suspicious how it was done. But there's a lot of guys like that, it's technically there's nothing wrong with that, right? But there's a lot of weird. Here's a good one. I'll put it over to Vito because you probably got a bunch of stories too, Vito. You've heard. A friend of mine in Rutland, a really good guy, give you the shirt off his back. Lent this radio to a friend of his. I know who it is. I'm not going to say it over the air, but lent the radio to him. And I guess there was some kind of failure or something like that. So he says, well, use this one. So he lent him the radio. And like 6 months later, he's like, so how do you like the radio? He says, oh, I sold it. He's like, what do you mean you sold it? He says, yeah, I sold it. I needed the money. And he's like, what the frick? He says, that was my radio. I was lending it to you. I didn't tell you could sell it. But see, that's the type of crap that goes on. You got to be really careful, Mike. Go ahead, Vito, K1GMM.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. We did a perfect double for the most part. You ended off a little bit longer than I did, but I think Mike heard me, so I apologize. Go ahead, Mike.
Actually, I got 2 years. That's what stereo is for. I got you both. It was fun. Vito, I understood what you said. Things have changed. You are very skeptical as to who you buy from, if anybody. And Steve, I think your message was only the good die young.
To UKA.
Now I'm going to have to hand it back to people. I thought I might have heard a breaker. Vito and Steve, stand by 1 minute. There might have been somebody in there. This is KA2FPZ. Was there a calling station?
Yeah, good evening. It's Doug, KB2, UKA. Hello, Steve. Hello, Vito. Hello, Mike, I believe. I've been listening in a little bit. And just have to let you know, Vito, I just put that movie on.
Oh, did you? Did you just get the clip, or did you actually buy it?
I just rented it. It's on Amazon. And I'm a little younger than you. I'm 44, but I remember seeing this as a kid.
Oh, it's a hilarious movie, man. It's hilarious. I mean, you've got to appreciate what cut and coax in the day meant. So enjoy it. It's a little bit, it's a little bit before your time, but I think you can see the kind of fun we had in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's late 70s. It's got an 80s vibe to it already. I feel it. I don't want to interrupt, but I'll jump in here in the circle. Let me pass it back to Mike. And then you guys could carry on. KB2 UKA.
Okay, Roger. KB2. Oh, let me write that down. I got your name though as Doug. Nice to meet you, Doug. Looks like you know these gentlemen already. We were just chatting about movies. We were chatting about antennas. We were chatting about ethics, and probably a bunch of other things. But we've been having some nice QSOs. And we're talking about remoting rigs. I think a lot of big emphasis on remoting rigs these days is that people, some of the old timers have to move into smaller places, but they want to maintain their bigger rigs. So I think that might be part of the renaissance, not renaissance, but part of the push towards remoting is that people still want their big stuff, their big antennas and fun, but sometimes they're forced to move it into different living quarters. So that might be some of the drive behind it. But let me send it over to Steve, and I have Steve's call. Of course I do, because I write everything down. K1GMM. Pick it up.
All righty. Hey, Doug, what's going on there, Captain? I got to say, boy, I love SDR technology, man. I got a heterodyne, a carrier from an AM broadcast station right on the inside edge of the passband. It must be on 210 somewhere in there. So I just put a friggin' manual notch filter in and gone. It's freaking... It's this constant drone, and it drives me nuts. Aside from that, wow. To boy, Doug, freaking, now I got to watch it. Now I have to watch it. And I was going to watch it anyways. And that's cool. It's on Amazon. So I'm assuming you can find it right through Prime or something like that. We got a stupid Fire Stick plugged in the TV. So I should be able to find it in there, right? And hope you're doing well, Doug. Over.
I'm doing great. It's Steve. The opening scene. The guy's talking to some girl who's talking dirty to him on the CB, and the truck driver's listening, and he's carrying an 18-wheeler full of either cows or horses. I don't know yet, but he drives off the road, and now he needs a wrecker to come get him out of the valley. It's going to be a great movie. I already love it. But yeah, I just I spoke into the Fire Stick remote. I said Citizens Band. And it popped right up, $4.99.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It was something I was going to say. It was regarding, here's kind of this is kind of silly, right? And it made me kind of cringe. I'm on a Zello group. I'm on the KP group. I don't talk there, but I listen quite often. There's a bunch of guys that I know from the CB days that are in there, and they're like, there's a bunch of guys that are ham radio operators that got their ticket, and we chat off and on, but we don't chat in the KP group. So this is on Zello. And I was listening and they're like, oh, you got to get in there. The guys would love to chat with you and stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because I just don't talk like that anymore. And I'm listening in there. This is last weekend. And I hear this guy key up. This is on Zello, right? on the KPDX11 group, and this guy says such and such. He throws his call sign in, KP call, waving a hand, and I just had this, like the hair stood up on my neck, and I remembered those days, and I'm like, who talks like that? It's like a whole different culture, and I'm not bashing it. But it was weird, man. I haven't heard that in a long time. I was like, wow, this is really freakish. I flashbacked, and I was like, oh gosh, that's just freaking weird. Who talks like that? So, I don't know if you guys have heard that lately, but yeah, I used to behave like that. It was fun. But I have to say, some of my closest friends still to this day are they don't have their tickets. It was just such, it was such a great experience for me. And to be honest with you, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I hear worse things. I've heard worse things on this band on 7200 and also on 7580 meters than I ever heard on that band on the CB. I mean, so, people trash CB operators and stuff. And I'm like, well, the guys I talked to were first class. And believe it or not, I don't know why they did this, but a lot of them were ham radio operators. And this is before I got my ticket. Actually, the guy I learned most of the antenna stuff from was a ham radio operator out of Florida. Smoking Bob, I called him. This freaking guy was brilliant. Been in ham radio. He's a radar antenna technician in the military. Been in ham radio for like 50 years. He's an old guy. He spent all his time on 11 meters. Go figure, right? Go ahead, Vito. K1GMM.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Doug, I just wanted to just make a point of it. The truck driver that basically turned the truck over in the movie. Wait till you find out he has 2 wives. And if you guys remember the actor Ed Begley Jr., I think he played in St. Elsewhere, a blonde guy with glasses. He plays the resident priest in the movie, and he's wait till you see the crap that he screws up.
What's up, Dan?
You're gonna like it. Oh man. Anyway.
Hey, John.
Yeah, well, that's where I started way back in the 70s. My friend Louis Donatelli. His dad owned an apartment around the corner from us, and he had a mobile antenna hanging off his balcony with a little 23-channel CB radio, and that's how it all started for me. And that movie reminds me so much of the day, with all the different characters and trying to pick up girls and all that other stuff. It's all in that movie. So enjoy, Doug, and don't forget to laugh and remember me when you're going through those parts. Anyway, over to you, Mike. This is VA3 VMD.
Roger. A friend of mine, we moved. I bought this house not too long ago, and he heard me just yap with you guys, and he brought me up a folder. I don't know where he found it, but it's from like 12 years ago. From all the stuff I bought. From Dick's Engineering, the remote stuff, it's actually pretty funny.
What's up?
Wow, brings back some memories. Anyway, I'm going to have to watch this movie now. Now you guys got me all interested in it. And
he's all messed
Doug,
up.
I didn't get your call, so I'd like to get that from Doug. Doug, your call in QTH, please.
Oh, sure, Mike. The call is Kilo Bravo 2, Uniform Kilowatt Alpha, KB2 UKA, and I'm located on the north shore of Long Island, New York. I'm about 50 miles east of Manhattan and about a mile and a half from the Long Island Sound. So, with radio, I'm a weird age, right? So I was born in 80. CB was still, I'd say 80s, or up to the mid 80s. CB was still relatively popular. And I caught the bug at 7 years old. So this would have been 87. One Christmas, my parents got me a pair of crappy walkie-talkies. and they were just one channel, but they were picking up a guy on CB. And then the guy on CB was able to hear me, so he must have been very, very local. And then I begged my parents for a realistic 40-channel walkie-talkie. And they got me a 40-channel walkie-talkie. And by the time I was 10 or 11, I was modifying Cobra CBs. I was putting antennas in my grandfather's van that didn't go anywhere. So my shack was in his van. And talking all over the place. And one day, my neighbor down the block walks up to the driveway when I'm sitting in this van. And he goes, "Why don't you get yourself a real radio?" And he throws the no-code tech book onto the passenger seat of the van. This would have been 91, so I was probably 11, maybe 92. And that was it. I got my no-code tech, and I never turned on a CB again. But it's so weird, Steve, what you said about being in that chat group and hearing that lingo. Out of nowhere, for like the last 2 months, I've been watching these guys on YouTube who own like CB amp repair shops and CB repair shops. And they show you all the repairs that they're doing. Mr. BBI is one. You probably know him. I think he's one of the most popular ones. These guys, the work they're doing and the knowledge they have is probably more knowledgeable than half the amateur operators. He inspired me so much, Steve, that I signed up for an online class. It's $200 for the year, and you could take a class in any topic you could think of, and it's not crap. The class I'm taking is legit, and I signed up for an basic electrical engineering and PC board design class. And it's about 100 hours of theory and hands-on work. And they're teaching me everything from Ohm's law and what a resistor does, all the way to designing circuits. And actually behind me right now, I've got 4 Cobra CBs that I bought for $30 on eBay that aren't working. And my goal is to repair them. And I should be able to get there probably in about the next 2 or 3 months once I'm done with this course. KB2 UKA. Go ahead, Steve.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. Yeah, I don't really know of any amateur radio. I don't know of anybody doing something like that in amateur radio. I'm not comparing the two, but yeah, I'm not the type of person that thumbs his nose up at CB operators. I agree with you, dude. There are guys out there that have more knowledge than probably 80% of the amateur radio community has. Freaking pretty scary stuff, what they do. But, wow, that's crazy. I thought to myself, well, it'd be great to find somebody who could teach me all this stuff. The problem is I'm too old and I'm too stupid and I'm too tired. That's the honest to God truth. I can't remember anything from like 5 minutes ago. I'm kind of a train wreck. I don't think I'm not going to go into it, but I was a dead man in 2020. I had a pretty bad scare and I should be dead. But I think it affected me because I'm not as... I just wouldn't go down that road at this point. I could probably do it, but I don't know. Anyways, that's enough of that. Go ahead, put it back over to Mike. I got to run upstairs quick, so I'm going to just let things idle here, and I'll be back in a couple. K1 GMM. Go ahead, Mike.
Right, sure. Well, we all live through life and make friends, make enemies, learn.
Just not the same
and,
anymore.
Looks like you're having a lot of fun learning. I hope you find everything you're looking for, Doug, and accomplish your goals. I went into my career was growing. I had a couple of careers, but I was a commercial grower. So really, electronics and amateur radio was like the furthest thing from my world. I grew plants professionally for Walmart, Sam's Club, delivered, various states around the Northeast and even the South. So that was interesting. I actually enjoyed it very much. When I was in high school, I fixed televisions for $10 an hour, which was a lot of money back in the 70s. So I did that for about 3 years, fixed televisions. And then I just felt like the same way somebody else did it, who just said walkie-talkies. That's what I did. I bought a walkie-talkie, and one thing led to another. That's how I found my Elmer. I bought this walkie-talkie, and I ended up meeting this lovely Norwegian woman, back in the day, of course, and her father introduced me to the gentleman who ultimately became my Elmer. So one thing leads to another, and that was a lot of fun. CBs, I loved CBs. I love building antennas. I think one of the first antennas I built was it was a V quad. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a V quad or a Y quad. What do they call it? Anyway, it was a 2-element quad for 11 meters, and it was so much fun. I put it on the roof. My parents freaked out. Really small antenna though, for 10 meters a quad. A Y quad. It couldn't get any smaller. So that's it. A lot of us started on 11 meters. I loved 11 meters. A lot of fun. Boy, that was a big thing. 11 meters was making a comeback. That's what I'm hearing. I haven't been on it or anything, but I hear 11 meters is kind of making a comeback. Have you heard the same thing, Doug?
So I haven't heard it out of anyone's mouth specifically saying that 11 meters is making a comeback. However, based on what I'm seeing on YouTube and the amount of hits these guys are getting on their videos, and the videos of these repair shops and these mod shops, I would have to agree with you. It appears 11 meters is making a comeback. And, I put one of the Cobra, I put one of the, it's a little Cobra 25 LTD. I put that on the bench. I don't think that thing's broken at all. I think it works fine. Frequency's on point. Output power is normal. So I just haven't hooked that up. It's hooked up to the dummy load right now. I run an 80 meter doublet. I could tune that on 11 meters. I just haven't tried it yet. But yeah, and plus I'm on I could go on 11 meters right now if I wanted to. I just haven't been on there. And I don't think I've transmitted on 11 meters. I'm 44. I don't think I've transmitted on 11 meters since I was 12 or 13. So I would love to get back to it. But man, these guys, what I'm seeing online, Mike, I guess they were doing it in the 70s too. These guys are running 10,000 watts. Okay, they're hardcore. I've seen these mobile rigs setups. I don't even know what gauge wire it is. It's like an inch in diameter. They're running a lot of power. But yeah, I think it's making a comeback, and it would make sense that it is, with everything going on in the last 4 or 5 years, because amateur radio has increased in licensees, but it's a pain in the butt to get it if you're not into that, right? Like, you got to get a book, you got to study, you have to go take a test. So, everyone that's getting involved in prepping and, electric grid outage that wants to communicate, CB is a very easy way to do that. Go ahead.
JAQFPZ Friday. Yes, it is. I just wish there was a way I could, maybe. Plus, I wonder if sometimes the internet is starting to get a little impersonal even for the kids. I mean, I know they're into it. It's a new thing, and CB's ancient stuff. But I think some of these kids are really just not communicating. I mean, me and you and all four of us are communicating. We're talking. And we're having fun doing it, talking about something we like. I just wonder if, the new technology is offering the same thing. Listen, I'm not going to go back and say, hey, those were the good old days. Maybe these are better days. I'm not, like you said, I'm not judging. It's just that I enjoy talking, and I wonder if some of these kids today ain't getting just a little lonely clicking on their keyboard. Anyway, back over to you, Vito. Pick it up from KA2FBZ.
Yeah, very good, Mike. Thanks. VA3 VMD. And Doug, to your point, this hasn't been happening now. This has been around. This has been going on for at least the last 10 years. I mean, when I got back into radio back in 2009, it was almost at the peak of the cycle. And I decided to get back on again. And there's a bunch of us here locally in Toronto that are on 11 meters. Now, the problem with 11 meters, for the most part, is everybody's on 27.35, which is channel 38. And then they'll go on channel 39 or channel 40, 27.395 or 27.405. Or some of them even go up higher than that because they got radios that can go in the free band area, right? Up to almost 10 meters, up to 2,800 there. You'll find a whole bunch of people between 27.405 and 27.55, 555, which you'll find a lot of Jamaican stations on. But when I got back into it in 2009, 2010, like you're seeing all these videos now, it was happening back then. I mean, and you're talking about the AM guys. I'm talking about sideband. If you go like, you get that really awful, Channel 6 Super Bowl distorted, running, 10,000 watts, sounding like crap audio. But there's a couple of guys out there that can run some AM stuff pretty nicely. There's a guy called Motormouth Mull. And if you take a look at YouTube and take a look at some of his videos and listen to that audio, holy crap, it sounds phenomenal. But it's been going around for a long time. Well, at least since I got, decided to throw an antenna back, and that was in 2010. So that was like 14 years ago. So it's been happening. It's just not happening now. Anyway, let's see if Steve's back. K1GMM. You there, Steve?
Hey, let me just jump in here real quick. Hold on. Guys, this is a great QSO, and I don't want to cut myself short here, but my son came home from school with a little bit of a fever today. It just broke. He's feeling better. My wife and daughter are out, and he asked me to take him to the store to get him something sweet, so I'm going to oblige him. Mike, very, very nice to meet you. It was a pleasure. Vito, always a pleasure. And Steve, if you're listening, 73. Let me pass it back to you, Vito. KB2, UKA, I'll be clear.
Yeah, okay, very good, Doug. Well, glad things are working out and your son's feeling better. 73, let me throw it over to Mike to clear with you. Go ahead, Mike.
Roger, okay. 73, Steve. Steve, do you come on this frequency regular, or was just a fluke?
Oh, who, me? I'm anywhere between the general portion of 40, usually 72.22, 71.79, and anywhere in between. So I'll definitely catch you again.
Okay, take care. 73.
All right, take care. KB2, UK clear.
Doug, did you want to play with him? Vito, is it me and you, or is Doug still here?
No, Doug just cleared. Steve, I'm not sure if Steve came back. I know Steve had to go upstairs there for a sec, so I'm not sure if Steve's back or not. So why don't we just take a pause and see if Steve's there. K1GMM, are you back in the pot there? Go ahead. Just you and I, Mike. Now, Mike, I went back into my log. We worked back about a week ago, I think, or on the 5th. What's today, the 11th? Yeah, about a week ago. And I can't remember, because I think I might be getting you mixed up with somebody else. Now, it was somebody with a 7300, and I'm trying to figure out whether it was you or whether it was somebody else that we were working the audio with on the 7300. Was that you?
I can't say I remember. A few people did help me with the 7300, and it could have very well been me. But I can't say for sure.
Well, did you come on about a week ago and we said, oh, yeah, I think you're running too much compression, take it down to number 3 or number 2, and we walked you through it? Or am I thinking maybe of another mic? It was a mic as well.
Oh, that makes it even tougher. We were both mic. We both had 7300s. It could have been. If it was me, how did I do? Does the audio sound okay?
Yeah, okay, so let me ask you this question. We were also on the topic about amplifiers and about running. There was an antenna that, well, maybe it wasn't you that was running, but the person in question was trying to run it on 80 meters, and they were asking whether they could use their internal tuner on the radio to tune up on 80 meters while using the amplifier. Was that you?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, so that was you that we helped about a week ago when your audio was hot. And we turned your gain down, and I think we even changed your treble and bass settings.
We did. I took down that. So I built a 7. Oh boy, you're not going to believe this. Actually, you probably will. I built a full-size 75-meter inverted V. Took me hours and hours to put the damn thing up. And I put a 1-to-1 balun on it just to make it extra special. The 1-to-1 balun had a dead short. I'm returning. In fact, I'm putting the label on the box today, and I'm returning it with that crappy MFJ tuner. They're both going back. It had a dead short on the balun.
Well, what I say to that is, you said you were going to do that 5 days ago, and it's still sitting there?
No, I didn't tell you that. I don't think I knew it had a dead 1-to-1 short. I mean, a dead short 5 days ago.
Well, I know 5 days ago you said you wanted to return that thing and send it and put it in a box and send it back. Maybe you learned a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I should have put the label on it already. No, it's here. I got the box. In fact, the label's going on it. It's going out tomorrow for sure. I talked to them. It's being returned. It's not a problem. But it just wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes. You know, you got to go through that crap to learn something. It's kind of like, you know, what we were talking about before about, you know, the guy that I was working with, that his ports were being used up by another program, and that's why his RSBA1 wasn't working. But let me tell you, I'll never forget that scenario. The first thing I'll ask somebody is, are they running any desk? So once you go through it, you never go back.
Is it true that if you use some of these programs that makes your radio much more, or your computer much more susceptible to getting hacked with the ports?
Okay, sorry, Mike. I need you to either re-ask the question or rephrase the question. Are you talking about opening ports, whether you're afraid about being hacked?
Yes. In what way are ports related to getting hacked?
Well, you see, what happens sometimes is if you have certain ports open on a firewall, they are potentially access points for people who want to be malicious to get access to the inside of your network or your computer. So in the case of like port forwarding, when it hits the firewall, port forward says something like, when you see this port, forward it to this device on my network. And normally that device is associated, or those ports are associated with an application that's on a particular computer. So people got to be scanning. Well, first of all, your firewall should be set up so that if somebody tries to scan your firewall, you're kind of like, it's stealth. It doesn't respond. So you have to kind of be a little bit more diligent in knowing, how do I get to see what ports are open or closed? So the simple question is, yeah, well, it's the same thing like, okay, you can lock your front screen door, okay, with a lock. But if you leave the window up a bit and there's only the screen there, well, the door's still locked. The guy's got to break in and he's got to poke through the screen. It's a little bit easier. And that's kind of how you relate to opening ports on a firewall.
Wow, what a noise level this is. What a low noise level. This is great. Okay, got it. Well, here's my plan. And tell me if you agree with this. So I'm just, right now, I'm going to obviously put the transmitter and the computer where the antenna is going to be. So here, I'm just going to need a computer. I won't even need, I'm going to have a transmitter here for other things, but not for remoting necessarily. So here I'll have the computer, and from what I understand, I can get, a relatively inexpensive computer, just something that runs on Windows 10 or something like that. And then I'll connect that up to the remote station, and I'll have nothing on either one of them. There'll be nothing to take, nothing to steal. They'll be dedicated specifically for ham radio. And this way, no worries. What do you think?
That's good. There's not a problem with that, but you just got to remember, right? If you've got other things on your network and that computer, think of it as you're walking into the house and you're giving me access to the living room and the kitchen. But in the house, you still have 3 bedrooms and a washroom.
Hey, you guys. I'm going to let this thing run here. I can't believe these guys are still in here. So, nice jacket. You like this jacket? This is a women's sweatshirt. I found out the zipper's backwards. That's okay. I'm good with my sexuality. Don't care. It's nice and toasty. Really toasty. So, I'm going to just let this thing run here. This is kind of turned out to be a good discussion. I don't need to... Excuse me. Sneezing. I got to go up and grab some chow because I'm starving. Wife just got home. Had to go take the dog out. That's where I've been. So let me just let this run here. You guys can... you don't need me. Yeah, I'll be back down in a while. Get the audio back on here.
I'm living here. I do have a tenant. I guess they could get exposed to it, but I don't know. They've got their own thing, or maybe they're sharing mine. Well, whatever. My wife and other sources of private information that I'd be concerned about are other locations, not on this network. So as far as I'm concerned, for privacy issues and for things that are important, I'm the only one on this network. There's no other computers. So there wouldn't be sensitive banking information or anything of that sort.
Well, then you're good to go. Yeah, no problem with that. I mean, there's other ways of, even if you weren't, you could get a little bit more sophisticated, and you could create what they call virtual LANs. So if you have a device that's capable of virtual LANs, you could have one physical device, but the virtual LANs would allow you to segregate traffic so that, for example, if you've got a switch that's, let's say it's 8 ports to keep it simple.
God, Vito is blasted.
You could create, two VLANs,
Strong
two
audio.
virtual LANs, one that has 6 ports and another one that's just got 2 ports, and that might be your 2 computers that you use. There's ways around doing those things. But in your case, and I wouldn't really, I shouldn't say this, but I'm not doing anything overly sophisticated on my networks, and I'm a network security guy. I think people are going to be a hell of a more interested in breaking into other things than by fluke tripping across, your environment. Now, I say that now, but there's always that chance. Just like
It's about 10 to 15 dB of QSB. Pretty savage. He just dropped to an S9. He's like 15 over now.
Run away and never get caught. So never say never. That's the one rule for sure.
KA2FPZ for a date. That's true. If I was a hacker and I knew what I was doing, I sure as hell wouldn't hack me. I'd be the last person I'd hack. But I get it. I get it. Just to be careful. Yeah, you never know. It's just that I don't. I would hack my bank before I hack me. Go ahead.
Well, here, I'm going to leave you this. And this is probably the key to anything. Most of the vulnerabilities happen when the person on the inside of the network, we'll call him Michael or Mike, goes out and starts clicking on links that he shouldn't be clicking on, and now opens up a two-way path because it's initiated from the inside of the network. A lot of these routers, if you initiate the traffic going out, then typically it's okay because you initiated going out. If somebody's trying to come in from the outside and knocking on that router door, he's going to say, I don't think so. But Mike says, hey, let me go check out this free ham radio that I got. And some guy puts up some stupid website, and he's got a whole bunch of software that when you click on it, downloads it on your computer and starts recording your keystrokes and all that other crap. Well, who's created that vulnerability? It wasn't the guy on the outside, although he's as guilty as charged, but it's you on the inside that initiated that initial contact.
Yeah, in other words, don't click on links that you're unfamiliar with. I think that's what you're telling me. But I heard that you can actually get into your computer now. They don't even need you to do anything.
All right, that was the wife. We're going to do dinner. I'm going to let this thing chug along, and I'll probably come down and edit it out, or I'll shut it down in a little while. If they're I doubt they'll still be in here by the time I get back. I'm freaking starving. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Not familiar with. Was that sort of what you were trying to tell me?
Yeah, I'm trying to say anything that looks overly suspicious. Like, how many times have you seen, and I've seen some pretty good ones that look like they're coming from a bank or a notification, and it's like, oh, this looks really legitimate. And you don't think twice about it, but then you go in and you really take a look at that, where that's coming from, or you click on the email address and you dig a little bit deeper and you look like, oh crap, this is nowhere near a banking site or my banking site. So if you get stuff like that, and you think it's, oh God, maybe I should look at it. Well, don't click on the link. Go and log into your own bank site and see if you're seeing anything fraudulent there. I mean, not too many people are going to do that because a lot of people aren't that stupid, but people do it. And so you got to be very, very careful. And, there's software programs that, fish for all this stuff and not firewall software, but, there's tons of software that's out there, but are they perfect? No, none of them are ever perfect. If they were perfect, you wouldn't be getting these big sites, asking for ransomware and all that other stuff. So if you're not familiar with it, don't click on the link if you're not overly familiar with it or if it looks suspicious. Absolutely.
I'm very suspicious as a person, and I used to be trusting of amateur radio operators, but those days are gone. So no, I don't think I would open anything. Maybe my sister, but even then, sometimes she lies. Just kidding. I get it. But to be honest with you, I don't really like using the computer. I like using the computers for like ham radio stuff. And that's it. I have no other desire to do other things. I'm kind of retired, and banking is done from another location that's private. I've got IT people who I don't want to bother them with ham radio crap. But when it comes to the bigger stuff, I hire the pros. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know I'm the same way. I don't profess to know, something that I do not know of, if that makes any sense. There's no sense pretending. And, I'm a believer in that. Like I've got my strengths and I know what they are. And when something's out of my, excuse me, out of my realm, then, I go to where the expertise is. And, and that way I stay out of trouble. But anyway, Mike, listen, I got to get out of here. Pleasure was all mine. And normally we are further down the band on the extra portion. We're around 7.163. And I came up here because I thought I recognized Steve's voice, K1GMM, who must have got called for the dinner bell or something. Or he's stuck in the toilet, one or the other. But anyway, listen, thanks for a wonderful QSO, and I'll let you tie the ribbons on it. I guess maybe we'll pause for a couple of seconds to see if Steve's come back, and then you can clear with me. 73, Mike. This is VA3. VMD will be QRT after your final. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure I've got it right. Victor Alpha 3, Victor Mexico Delta.
Yep. The name is Vito. Victor India Tango Oscar, like the Godfather.
Okay, Godfather. Very nice talking to you. You've been very helpful, and it's really been a nice QSO. We've been on for quite a bit and having a lot of fun of it. 73s, and we'll talk to you later. KA2FPZ is now clear with I better get some glasses. Actually, I definitely need some glasses. Victor Alpha 3, Victor Mike Delta. You have a very good night. This is KA2FPZ clear with you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, don't forget, it's called Citizens Band. Citizens Band, 1977, the full movie. 73.
See you guys. I'm out of here.